All right, so we've had a few setbacks. It's Friday, almost exactly a week after I wanted to have this thing together and riding it. Luckily, they all happened roughly around the same time, so we've got that working for us, which is nice. The tank came back from paint, and there was a bit of a blemish in the paint, which the painter didn't see until he pulled it out of his truck in my driveway. It was bad enough that I wanted him to redo it, but luckily, when I brought the tank into the garage, the paint that I got from Color did not match the white on the bike very well. So I gave him one of the panels. He's going to try and match the paint to the paint on the bike and get it corrected, also correct the blemish. So it was kind of a happy accident. The exhaust headers had some patches on them, which I had kind of been ignoring against my better judgment, but I figured since the tank was getting fixed, I may as well just take a peek under those patches and see what was going on. And there were holes in the headers where somebody had drilled to what I assume would be attached O2 sensors right next to the factory O2 sensors, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but it is what it is. So they're Akrapovic, full titanium, so I had to find a guy locally who could weld titanium. So I took those off yesterday and brought them to the welder. He's going to patch those holes up, hopefully in time for the tank to get back. I'll get the headers back on and get the exhaust installed. I've also been running into a little bit of a dilemma with the rear caliper. The bleed screw is an M10, and apparently most Brembo caliper bleed screws on motorcycles are M8. So it's a bit bigger than your standard bleed screw. It's back ordered through KTM. The dealership can't get me one. I tried the Ducati shop yesterday because, they use a ton of Brembo stuff. They weren't much help. So I kind of blindly ordered an M10 one pitch bleed screw on Amazon, which arrives today. Hopefully that fits and I can get the rear brake pressured up and working. And then next week, hopefully by Wednesday, I'll have the tank and the exhaust back and I'll be able to get this thing running. So I'm going to turn the camera around and kind of run through on the bike where the trouble spots are and show you guys a bit of that. So here's where the rear header goes. There was a hole in it right about here, very close to the end, and then the O2 sensor was like just back here. Perfect circle. I think they were going to mount another O2 sensor for whatever reason, but I wanted to get it properly repaired instead of just patched, so I have it at the welder. That's getting fixed. Same thing over here on the front. Luckily, let's see if I can get in there. Luckily, this top header piece stays in place because I just did not want to take that out. And then the rest of it just kind of slides out the bottom. So the exhaust, which I had previously installed, was super happy about it, is now back out of the bike. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to show you guys the new pipe versus the old pipe, so you can see just how mangled the old one is and what the new one looks like next to it. So I have those over here. This is the new one, very pretty titanium. That's what the end is supposed to look like. This is the old one, still pretty decent shape. Could use a good cleaning. I noticed just before I started filming that the rivets are different here and here, so I'm assuming somebody took this off at some point and re-riveted it back on there. I'm probably going to do that too, just to assess the damage, and then I'm going to see if my titanium guy can fix this end cap, or maybe make me something that will work and get this repaired. Interestingly enough, or I should say, kind of an odd little tidbit about this bike is these are both Akrapovic Evo 4 pipes, but the headers on the bike are Akrapovic Evo 1, which are full titanium, but a little different build. I think they're originally were a little less expensive. I don't know that they're any less expensive now. They're both super expensive. But whoever installed it did actually a pretty good job of, it's obviously not on the bike right now, you can't see it, but down here where the header joins up with the muffler, there's an adapter to go from the smaller diameter of the Evo 1 to the larger receiver on the Evo 4 can. So just kind of an interesting little tidbit. This is the rear caliper with the bleed screw. That's the bleed screw that was in it. It's just kind of mangled. It still works, but I want it to look nice and not be a piece of junk. So I'm waiting on getting that back. And then of course the tank, still waiting on the tank to come back from paint. It's going to be really pretty when it gets back, but it's been kind of a lot waiting for it. So I'm excited to see it. Okay, so I've gotten the pipes back from the welder, and the new triple tree came in, so I'm going to try and get those installed today. I'm going to show you guys that stuff here in a second. I'm still waiting on the screw for the rear caliper, the bleed screw. Really need to get that installed so I can get the rear brake tightened up. And then I need to order a couple of little bushings for the gas tank. There were 2 in it, but it's still missing 2. So before I get the tank back from paint, which I'm still waiting on, I need to get those bushings so that when I do get the tank back, I can get it installed properly with all 4 bushings in place. All right, so here is the triple that's on it. It looks to me like maybe this was originally a black triple that's just been sun faded. It looks lighter in the video than it does on the bike, but it's also kind of nicked up, and I just haven't loved it ever since I've been working on the bike. So I wanted to get a new one. I thought about just having that one powder coated or Cerakoting it myself, but then I found this one on eBay for less than $100, and it's in pretty good shape. There's some marks under there, but the steering head bolt's going to cover that up. Other than that, looks pretty mint. Pretty happy with it. So I'm going to get that put on. Show you the pipes here too. The exhaust. These were the clamps and the patches that were over these holes, which I'll show you in some photos because I didn't take video before I had them patched. But here is the mid pipe, titanium. That's where the hole was. Welder did a pretty good job of patching that up, and that's going to be under the fairing, so you'll never really see it anyway. On the rear header piece, there was also an identical hole. This is actually steel, even though it says Akra on it right there, which I didn't know. So that's steel welded, obviously. Turned out pretty good. Happy with it. There's no hole anymore, and it's not patched. So I'll get that reinstalled here probably today too, and then I'll show you guys that when it's done. Oh yeah, one more quick thing. So as you probably know by now, this thing was covered in carbon fiber when I got it. A lot of the carbon was damaged, so I ordered these white fairings for it. Retained the belly pan, so the belly pan will still be carbon. It's off right now because I'm doing the exhaust, but you can see over on this side Carbon fiber, looks pretty sweet. I also got the carbon fiber vent fin fairing things. It's gonna look nice too. But I was looking at the tail pieces, and both the tail pieces were in pretty good shape. There was this one little spot right there, which was the clear coat was damaged, and so I just thought I would replace these two, but that's going to be under the bike and not very visible. And I think with a buff, these tail fairings will clean up really nicely. The other one's actually in better shape than this one is. So I'm kind of thinking about carbon fiber on the tail too. Let me know what you think in the comments if you think I should do that or not, but I'm kind of leaning towards it. I might run the white for a little while, and then when I get motivated again, reinstall that carbon. So it would basically be carbon fiber from the vent fairing back, and then the front with the big shark tooth down the front would all be white. I think that would look pretty gnarly. We'll see how it looks when I get it all back together. Oh yeah, one other thing that I forgot to mention. I got this Puig dark smoke screen installed. The other one had been, I think this is the OEM clear screen, and it had been spray painted, and it's just like, it looks okay when there's no light shining on it. Well, kind of, but when the light hits it, it just looks like a big turd sandwich. So I got this new Puig installed. I think it looks really nice. You can actually see through it. That's great too. So that was the last update. All right, so the exhaust is back in. I just need to get one half of the belly pan put back on, get these side fairings put back on, and then it's just waiting for the tank to come back from paint, which should be in the next day or two. And this thing is going to be buttoned up and ready to go. I'm super pumped for it. I'll give you a quick preview of the exhaust and kind of walk you through the process and do the same for the fairings and show you what those look like when they're back on. All right, so this is the exhaust back in. Looks great. It just needed to marry up with this joint. Where is it? This joint up here for the header that was already installed. And then I put the spring back on. Then it came down here, and the can just slid right onto the end here. Popped the spring on. Got these two bolts, this one and the one on the other side, installed. Then it was just a matter of getting the header on. Actually, I did this part first, but I put this part of the header back on, just three copper bolts so that they don't strip. And then got the mid pipe in, slid the can on, and it was good to go. I think there was one more spring up here somewhere, but yeah. Anyway, now I'm just gonna get these side panels put back on, get those buttoned up, this side of the belly pan, and should be good to go. All right, so the belly pan is on. This is pretty easy. It's just a bolt here. There's another one that tucks up under here behind this guy, and then two on the front clip over here. And then I got the side fairing on too. I used Pro bolts for this just because, I don't know, I thought they looked kind of ridiculous, and this bike is kind of ridiculous, so why not? Nice orange anodized Pro bolts. There's 3 there, 1 here, and then 2 down here hook into the belly pan. That's it. Same thing over on the other side. 3 there, 1 over there, and then 2 down there. Easy peasy. Now I just need to get the tank back, and the painter's got this piece here to do a paint match, and we'll be good to go.